Slavery is the thing that the entire American economy at this point really rests. The number of slaves in the South will grow from approximately about 800,000 in 1790 up to 4 million by the time of the Civil War. Slaves themselves were worth more than they had ever been. A prime field hand male was worth somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500. So if you do the math, by today's numbers, it's anywhere between $2 and $9 trillion. Slaves and slavery was worth more than all of the factories, all of the warehouses, all of the railroads, everything else in the economy in America. Slaves dwarf that.
Today, the USA has 50 states, but in 1861, there were only 34. The Civil War began as a clash between the 19 northern states, which had abolished slavery, and 11 southern states, whose economy was built on slave labor. At the same time, huge areas of the American West were just beginning to emerge as new states. Would they adopt the economic model of the North or the South?
Well, the issue in the Western territories is whether or not slavery is going to be allowed to exist in the West. And the question then for the United States is, as this territory, which is unorganized now, becomes states, will we allow those states to be free, or will we allow them to be slave? The issue is not so much about slavery where it exists, but slavery where people want it to exist or not to exist, depending on their perspective. And there are people who can see that this is going to be the powder keg that's going to set this whole sectional conflict off.
Abraham Lincoln was a Kentucky-born Southerner, but in 1860, he managed to win the presidential election without taking a single state in the South. Within 2 months, 11 southern states broke away from the United States and set out to create the Confederacy. As tensions rose, they installed their own president, Jefferson Davis, in their own White House in Montgomery, Alabama. And at 4:30 a.m. on the 12th of April, 1861, the first shots were fired by Confederate troops at Fort Sumter. The war escalated into a brutal conflict. At the Battle of Gettysburg alone, 51,000 men lost their lives in just 3 days. The Confederate forces were fighting for a new American nation.
So this flag is what's called the first national flag of the Confederacy. You have the original 11 stars of the Confederacy, and you have these red and white stripes or bars on it.
It looks really quite like the Stars and Stripes. Is that deliberate?
Well, that's part of the problem. When you're on the battlefield, it's very hard to tell the difference between it and a United States flag, an American flag.
So you can't tell who's who?
You can't tell who's who. That prompted the Confederate government to create another flag, a flag that would be used in battles, and we just happen to have an example of that here as well.
So I can see that I've been thinking of the Confederate flag wrongly. What I'm actually thinking of is the Confederate battle flag.
That's correct. It is the battle flag. So
yes.
This is a purely military flag designed to be used by troops in the field. This particular flag was in the Battle of Gettysburg. You'll notice a lot of the battle damage on it. One of the other things you might notice is the number of stars.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And one's gone missing at the end there, but that's 13.
There's 13 stars.
That's wrong, isn't it?
By the time this flag was created in the fall of 1861, the Confederate government had admitted 2 other slaveholding states that never formally seceded from the Union, Kentucky and Missouri.
Isn't that clever then? They were trying to snap up any state that showed a flicker of interest in the cause of the Confederacy. This is a real case of smoke and mirrors, isn't it? Even the flag itself, there's more to it than you think. It's not quite telling the straightforward truth.
It feeds into this myth and how we understand the Confederacy and the Civil War to this day.